Welcome back.
Hey, everybody. This is an awesome day. This is episode 452. The reason it's awesome is because if you're listening to this show, that means there's a pretty good chance you're using your phone and your computer, which means you have all your fingers from yesterday.
Yes, sir. A couple things to get out of the way before we start this. We have now secured a firm date for July 18th at 1930 hours, bringing on our good friend Mike Hildebrand for the After Action Report. That is going to be our standard long format, free guest. Actually, we just confirmed with our next guest, which is going to be for August, is Bob Ingram from FDNY fame. That one, he's an OG from the way back. So Mike Hildebrand, comments are going to be on. He's going to be bringing pictures. Come on in and roast him if you feel so inclined.
Yes.
I love it.
Love the live format. It's a great time. Battery Destroyers Club. We are having another Battery Destroyers. September 4th will be the actual event. When we end up, posting the videos and talking about it, will be sometime shortly after there. And that is going to be focused on EV vehicles. We're going to be doing a little bit on scooter batteries, but we're going to be burning some cars. Always a good time to burn cars.
Yeah, lots of new swag in the hazmat store. HMAF is coming on strong, man. That brand is hot.
It is hot. It is hot. It's great.
And a couple of conferences to finish out the year. Right now, we have Continuing Challenge September 3rd. 3rd through the 6th, where Mike is going to be doing a full day of like a medley of different topics. It's like 6 to 8 different topics jammed together.
I prefer to call it potpourri, Bob. Potpourri.
I like that. We got Virginia Hazmat. It's September 10th, and we're currently courting with Pennsylvania Hazmat for August 22nd to the 23rd. So good stuff all around. But I'm kind of excited for this show.
This is fun. This is fun. Were you on the firework? We thought it was an explosive Clan Lab. It was in Astoria, Queens, right in front of the park, one of the parks there. And we went in, and First Due Engine had a fire. They put out the fire, and they recognized containers that they thought matched up with an explosive lab, like a clandestine explosive lab.
Wow.
So naturally, they called us, and we went. And when all was said and done, it turned out, well, I guess you could call it an explosives labs, but it wasn't like a guy trying to, blow up a building or a car or anything like that. He was literally just making fireworks for the 4th of July. And the reason that we were able to identify it was based upon the ingredients that was found inside of the apartment. So it is definitely important to understand some of these chemicals. We are going to go through them today. And it was, I have to say, it was a fun resource event, trying to pick. I think there were about 10 different chemicals in there. And we were trying to parse and piece them. And, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Right.
So we, in the where we came from, there's a slight bit of, I'm not going to say pressure, but there's a little bit of a tendency for us to always be swinging towards the terrorism thought process, right? Everything is terrorism. One day we're all going to die, and that's how we're trained, and that's what we kind of live by. So naturally, we went towards the clandestine lab. And I can remember the resource person having a little bit of a difficult time trying to figure out what type of explosives they were making, because he wasn't making a peroxide. He wasn't making this. He was making fireworks. So, anything you want to add before I jump into the ingredients?
No, it's funny. You got to think, like, all these ingredients, which I believe we have 10 here, they're all used for a reason. Like, the reason we have fireworks, all right, maybe you're just a dumb kid and you like the M80s and the blockbusters or whatever, the lady fingers or the ding dangs or the hippos or whatever the hell you got out there. Right. But the point is the ooh-ah factor, right? We send these projectiles up in the air to elicit a color response, and that's kind of like the cool factor of this thing. You know, the explosive part is the thing that gets it up there, and then the explosion, like the mortars, like Mike's talking about, give a color. So each one of these colors, or each one of these chemicals, is sought after for their vibrant colors.
Right.
Well, they serve a purpose.
Yes, they serve a purpose. They're not all color related, right? A lot of the oxidizers put in are color related, but there are definitely chemicals in there that help it explode. There's definitely chemicals in there that help it with its
binders, expanders, like
its trajectory. I'm trying to think of the word for propulsion. There we go. Because
yes,
I can't think sometimes. So, all
right,
let's get into it. Let's start talking about these chemicals. One of the first ones that is in a lot of fireworks, right? And it's in a lot of fireworks because it lands in the category of oxidizers, is going to be potassium nitrate. That's 8-ATE, also known as KNO3. Its state of matter. Well, why does its state of matter matter? Well, because one, we're going to be trying to identify the stuff, and two, we're going to be selecting PPE requirements, and state of matter matters. So it is a solid crystalline powder. It is neutral in pH. Oh, Mike, why would I give a shit if something is neutral with its pH? It's not like it's going to be, soaked in water. Well, if your engine companies have just been in there putting out a fire, guess what? It's going to be soaked in water. So for us responding to these things, the pH matters. So we have a pH with potassium nitrate between 6 and 8. Its toxicity is relatively low. It can cause some eye and ear irritation, skin respiratory systems. I don't see anything outside of bunker gear and SCBA that would, or anything here that would indicate something other than SCBA. Now, it is an oxidizer. So naturally, when we start talking about incompatibilities, it's not going to play nice in the sandbox with combustible materials, reducing agents, acids, ammonias, and sulfurs. Now, with that being said, let's also remember that potassium nitrate is being packed together with combustible materials, reducing agents, acids, and sulfur. So take that incompatibility for what it is. Now, response-wise, how can we end up kind of picking up this chemical? Well, we're not going to be able to pick it up on a lot of our regular meters. It's an oxidizer, so what meter do you think will pick up oxidizers? If you said your K paper, you're absolutely right. And nice. Your FTIR and Raman spectroscopy is going to show up on both due to the characteristics of that nitrate group. So it's going to pick up the nitrates. What is it used for? Now, this is two totally different things. I'm going to say the color, right? And I am referring to the color when it goes boom. Right before we all go, ooh and ah, it's going to produce a color that is nothing because it doesn't do anything to produce color. No. It is an oxidizer that helps push everything forward.
Yeah, and I will also add to this, like if you're coming in with your 4-gas, though it's an oxidizer, though it's kind of like it's kind of the big nut on this whole thing is like you're not going to get anything on your 4-gas because it's like, first off, it's a solid. It doesn't have really any vapors. Second off, it's really not a flammable in itself. It just makes everything go.
Right.
So mine, I'm going to do sulfur, which is pretty easy because the element is sulfur. That's it. So this once again is a solid. It's a yellow powder. It is neutral in water. It has a pH between like 5 and 7. So this is one of those ones that's going to stink. Like when you have that characteristic firework go off and it smells like, farts, or it smells like, that's kind of like most of those sulfur-based compounds is what you're saying. The toxicity is kind of low. It'll cause irritation in your eyes, your skin, your respiratory. Okay, cool. It doesn't like to hang out with oxidizers, chlorine, fluorine, and bromine, which is kind of contra because it has this beautiful colorless. I keep doing that. No, but sulfur, so the oxidizer, sulfur is used basically in the ignition and the sustained combustion of other compounds. Like these these first two are kind of setting the stage that when they kind of hook up together, you're pretty much bomb making.
Right. You're enhancing the energy within the system. So you're either producing color, right? You're a combustion source, or you're enhancing that combustion, right? If we think of a firework just like we would the fire triangle, you're putting all of those support networks, all those sides together in one specific spot. And sulfur has a key role to play in all of this. So does charcoal.
Well, just before we get to, again, you're going to have that smell, and you can also do the FTIR, and Raman will show up on both because of its unique vibrational mode. So sulfur does pop on both of those things. Sorry.
No, it's my fault. I am the one that went ahead. So now I can talk about charcoal. I'm so excited to talk about charcoal. So charcoal, what is it? If you don't know what charcoal is, you really need to go to like your barbecue grill, because that is charcoal. Completely different than coal. Just so we're both on the same page. One is a rock, and the other is burnt wood that has been suffocated of its oxygen. It is going to be a black powder. As you would imagine, you get charcoal from the supermarket, ground it up, it's going to be black. It is neutral to slightly acidic in pH, maybe hovering around that kind of 7.5 scale. In all honesty, with our basic pH paper, it wouldn't be enough for you to really notice. Super low toxicity. However, when we talk about toxicity, we're talking about the actual chemical reaction inside your body. We still would not want to inhale any of this dust, because the dust can cause us some irritation issues. Charcoal is leftover carbon. So therefore, its incompatibilities is going to be right along the lines of a strong oxidizer. It's not going to play well with strong oxidizers. Can we pick it up on the FTIR and the Raman? Yeah, both of those technologies are going to show the carbon structure. And again, we haven't started talking about pretty colors yet. Charcoal is a fuel primarily, so it doesn't have any kind of distinct color. It again is one of those chemicals that's going to add energy to the system to help produce the colors when we get to them.
Now we get some colors. Now we start taking some aluminum powder, right? Which is, everybody knows what aluminum looks. It's a bright, shiny metal. And imagine taking sandpaper to the thing and just shaving it down. You have like this solid metallic silvery powder, right? The pH level, it's neutral. It's a metal. Toxicity is low toxicity, but again, you don't think that metals can be a dust in air, but they can. So you don't want to breathe this stuff in for irritation of the respiratory hazard.
Yes, especially if it's been commercially powderized.
Yeah, like you can get them very, very, very fine. Low toxicity, right? Waters, it doesn't like acids, it doesn't like alkalis. So acids or alkalis, oxidizers, or any of the halogens. Now, as far as our metering and monitoring, it typically is not able to be picked up by the FTI or Raman due to its metallic nature.
Right.
Okay.
No bonds.
Because it's an element, and it really doesn't. They generally can't pick it up. But this produces a bright white or silver spark. Aluminum powder is often used for creating those brilliant white flashes or sparkle effects. They come down. That's aluminum powder.
So if you took aluminum powder and you told it was going to be in the fire calendar, it would naturally work out and take a massive amount of steroids. Mm-hmm. If you did that, you would have magnesium powder, which is aluminum powder, literally on steroids. Okay. Yeah, and I said literally again. Where's my ding? Ding. All right. So magnesium powder. It's a solid. There it is. It is a solid metallic powder. Again, neutral in its pH. So if you're in there after they've been fighting fires, you don't necessarily have to worry about the pH. The toxicity is low, but again, that dust can become an irritant. Things that it is not compatible with. Kind of funny. It's just the same list as the aluminum powder because metals are going to have similar properties. Water, acid, alkalides, and oxidizers. Again, because there is no bonding here, there's metallic bonding, not covalent bonding. We are not going to pick anything up on our FTIR or our Raman. But if you bite down on it, you're going to feel it in your fillings. That's a joke. Don't do that. And what is it used for? Well, it's used to help push this brilliant, bright white light from the fireworks. It is, if you've ever done any kind of, try to put out a magnesium fire, that bright color that will burn your retinas if you stare at it too close, that's the brilliance that it brings to a firework.
Next one up is going to be potassium perchlorate, or KClO4. Now, this is a rather strong oxidizer. Okay, it is a solid. Again, it's a crystalline powder, so it's going to have the appearance of, let's say, I don't want to say the wrong one. Maybe like a sodium bicarbonate, baking soda-ish kind of look.
It can also become a little pearly, right?
It can. Okay. It can. It depends on, you know what? It's hard to even describe that. It's going to be a crystalline powder because there's so many different modes you can do that in. But neutral in water, right? Between 5 and 7, easy peasy. Toxicity is low, but it can cause irritation to the eyes, skin, and respiratory if it's in the air and you're getting it in. So SCBA seems like an easy one for this thing. Incompatibilities, organic materials, reducing agents, acids, and sulfur. You're seeing a kind of a pattern here with these incompatibilities. But the good thing is the FTIR and Raman will show up on it because it's a perchlorate. That whole group shows up on FTIR and Raman, which is the nice thing. And this guy brings to the table, it doesn't really bring a color to the table, but it acts as the oxidizer to enhance the colors produced by other metals.
Yeah, this is actually one of me and Bob's, one of our more favorite chemicals, because when we teach HAZCADing, this is one of those awe-inspiring moments that the students are like, holy cow, that was cool. And if you want to see a really interesting video, go Google screaming gummy bear. And that is the chemical that is used in a screaming gummy bear. All right. Moving on to the next chemical here, strontium nitrate. I think this is a cool chemical just only for the sole fact that the word strontium to me is just a really cool word. Yeah, like it I don't know why it doesn't make any sense to me, but strontium nitrate. Now, hopefully you can tell by the nitrate what this is going to be and what it brings to the table. It's a nitrate, so it's an oxidizer. It is a solid crystalline powder. When in the presence of water, it's going to give you a pH somewhere between 5.5 and 7.5. So still relatively neutral. In fact, as we go along, you kind of see what our PPE selection is going to be along the way. Its toxicity is relatively low. It's actually super low, but it can cause irritations if it's going to get in the mucous membrane. So this is more of a mucous membrane issue. It is, in fact, going to come up on the FTIR and the Raman, as we would predict because of that nitrate group. Not only is strontium an oxidizer and brings that extra little oomph to the party, but it's also going to produce those brilliant, bright red flames. It's that when you look up and you see that deep red color, that's coming from strontium.
Now, the next one is going to be barium nitrate, right, with the ATE, the BaNO3 deuce. This one, again, is a solid crystalline powder, neutral in water, 5 to 7. This one has a moderate toxicity, and it can cause some decent irritation to eyes, skin, respiratory. Ingestion can be downright non-pleasant, we'll say.
So what's the rule? Don't eat the shit on scene.
Don't eat this stuff. It does not like combustible materials, reducing agents, and acids. And just remember that most of the times these fireworks are packaged in like paper, which is cellulose, which is a combustible material, which is an organic. Like, you get where that's why these things, like, and if you're doing this in a factory in a foreign land under, we'll say, arguably not safe conditions in the first place. How safe are these things in the first? Like, people that's why we laugh about, oh, you're missing fingers. The quality control is not tight.
Yeah, no, you don't want to pay union wages for fireworks. Nobody would buy them. No, but they probably also wouldn't blow up at the same time.
Right. Can you pick it up on your Raman? Yes, it picks up on both FTIR and Raman spectroscopy because it is in the nitrate group. That whole group does it. Now, this one chemical puts out those brilliant green flames. These barium compounds are used to create those green colors, which you can do it through boric acid. Right, that is a great one. Some ant bait, and you just put a little ethanol or something like that on, and you can pop these green colors out in a format. It's brilliant.
Now, just because it has green doesn't necessarily mean that it's barium nitrate. You can also get a color green through copper compounds, such as copper chloride. A little bit different of a flame, right? This is going to be more of that bluish green flame. If you've ever done any kind of soldering, if you're below the age of 35, you probably have never held a torch in your life. That's okay. But if you're above 35, you may have, when you touch that torch to a pipe and it turns that greenish color, that's the green color of copper compounds. Again, copper chloride is going to be a solid crystalline powder. This pH is a little bit different. Now we're starting to drop down, and in water, it's going to give us about a 3 to a 4, a little bit more mild of a toxicity. It's going to cause a little bit stronger eye and respiratory irritations if you breathe it in, which kind of makes sense, because if I'm taking a chemical that turns into a pH of 3 in the presence of water and I put it on my mucous membranes, naturally, I got a funny feeling this thing's going to burn. It is incompatible with strong oxidizers and alkalides, as many of our metals are. Raman spectroscopy, is it going to pick it up? Yes, it absolutely is. It's going to pick up those chlorine copper bonds. That's what the FTIR is going to grab onto, producing this green-blue flame when it's up in the air.
So one thing I want to caution everybody: why do we give a shit if it's a little bit acidic and a little bit basic and stuff like that? Because if you are not thinking in a holistic kind of view and you're saying, I have this puddle that is slightly acidic, the knee-jerk reaction for some technicians would be like, let me neutralize this, putting an alkali on it. I'm saying it's a weak alkali, but I'm saying the incompatibility is for this an alkali. So don't be shocked when it gets angry at you. I'm just keep a wide open idea on this thing. The next one is going to be chlorates, and specifically, we're talking about potassium chlorate. This little bugger is a solid. It is neutral in water, 5 to 7. Moderate toxicity for the eyes, skin, and nose, but ingestion, once again, is no bueno. It is incompatible with organic materials such as reducing agents, acids, and sulfurs. Don't mix that. But the good thing is the Raman and the FTIR will once again show up on it because it's a chlorate group. These groups show up in whole. Is that a true statement? I think that's a pretty good statement.
As whole, in whole. Yeah, I think in whole.
Yeah. But this one doesn't produce colors. This is another one of those oxidizers that enhances the colors of the other ones. You're probably saying to yourself, why am I using all these different things to enhance other colors? Because some work better with certain things. Right. So they'll kind of mix this one plus that one and that one plus this one.
Yeah, let's take the look at like magnesium, right? Magnesium is going to burn super hot, but it has a very high activation energy. It takes a lot of energy to produce it. So I'm going to probably put it with like a potassium perchlorate because that's going to give me a high energy. Why would I waste my ingredients if I don't need a high activation energy? Why would I put something in there that has a high activation energy? So, there's different ingredients for different things. Now, in case you've never made fireworks, right? You get all this stuff together and it just kind of sits in this pile on your desk. It's really hard to actually form it into any kind of a shape. So as a result, binders are added to this entire mixture. Binders like dextrin tend to be a solid powder with a neutral pH, a relatively low toxicity. Again, irritation to the eye, skin, and respiratory system. It is incompatible with strong oxidizers, right? Again, here we have kind of a carbon-based compound, and since it is a carbon-based compound, specifically a polysaccharide, it is going to show up on our FTIR and Raman. What colors is it going to produce? It ain't going to do shit when the firework goes boom. It is a binder. It literally keeps all the stuff together so that everything is nice and tight and can react uniformly and keep everything stable.
Happy 4th, America.